Right now, I have to stop saying.
Well, if you didn't think we had anything to talk about for the next 3.5 months because it's the offseason now, and obviously the Stanley Cup Finals are still going on, boy, are you wrong. As you may have seen on our emergency pod this morning, Pete DeBoer fired this morning by the Dallas Stars, no longer the head coach of the franchise. We will talk about all of that. Sam is on remote. Luds is here furiously scribbling notes. I don't even know what day or what way is up, right, left. Stars DLS Podcast starts right now.
Get ready, boys.
This is the DLLS Stars Podcast, which is presented by Bud Light. What about Bud Light? Our Stanley Cup playoff coverage. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. And by Happiest Hour, your home base and the best place to catch the Stanley Cup Final. Just steps away from the AAC, the ultimate spot with 50-plus beers and 40-plus TVs for all the big moments every single game day. Happiest Hour, your favorite spot for the Stanley Cup Final. All right, as we welcome you inside a big show today, let's talk about the ball knower bonus. We're on to game 2. You have an opportunity right now to buy DLLS merch and get a free All-City gift card, win one of that same amount. What am I talking about? Well, we already did it for game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final and game 1 of the NBA Finals. Now we're on to game 2, which is tonight in hockey and tomorrow for basketball. Start by picking the winner for, let's say, go to game 2 tonight between Edmonton and Florida. Then you browse our store, make a purchase of at least $25, and if your pick wins, you'll win a gift card for the same amount as your original order. You have to use the link that's in the chat right now of our show. It's also in the YouTube description. You can also go to alldlls.com and find it there. Click on that, make your pick, buy some great merch, including maybe the DLS Skyline shirt, or maybe the flag shirt that Luddy's wearing, or whatever shirt Sam is wearing right now. And you could win a DLLS All-City merchandise gift card of the same amount. That's the ball knower bonus. All right, fellas, welcome inside to our Friday, June 6th, as we have Craig Ludwig, we have remote Sam Nestler, and producer John Andersen. I'm Owen Newkirk. All right, we know the big story of the day. Pete DeBoer was fired this morning by the Dallas Stars. Jim Nill spoke at noon. We'll play a couple of clips. We'll talk about all of that and what it means. But let's start with the decision. Luds, Tom Gaglardi last Friday, 1 week ago, was interviewed by Tim Kalishaw of the Dallas Morning News, the day after losing Game 5 to the Edmonton Oilers and getting knocked out of the playoffs. And Gaglardi said, paraphrasing here, do you think I want to go into a coaching search right now? Look who's out there. We've got a great head coach. He's going to be our guy.
I think he's had top 3 or 4 in the league.
What happened in a week that changed his mind?
Well, obviously the ending, but I think if you, and again, I know everybody's going to talk about the Edmonton series, but you know, we talked about the first couple rounds, especially the first one. For me, it was Rantanen and Oettinger, you know, and there wasn't much 5-on-5 there. There wasn't much 5-on-5 throughout the playoffs. And then obviously, you know, what happened at the end. But I think that always, now that this happens, it always gets me wondering, okay, how did that conversation go with the general manager and the owner saying that, hey, we have a top 3 guy? And sometimes one side or the other gets out in front of something where maybe you shouldn't. And I'm not saying that this is the case, but, you know, again, did it have a lot to do or anything to do with the whole Oettinger thing? Yeah, I'm sure that had something to do with it. But I think you have to look at the big picture about how they played in the playoffs and how much they had to lean on 2 or 3 guys. And you didn't have enough of a group pitching into this whole thing. So, and there's probably lots of places you could look at. But, you know, now I think the unfortunate thing is right now is there's been, what has it been, 6, 7, 8 coaches hired in the last month? You know what I mean? Like, so there's been a handful.
I believe it's been, I think since the regular season ended, there have been 8 new hires.
So and you're getting the pick of the litter in the beginning of it, and then now where are you going from here? And so, but I do believe that one way or another, there's been conversations with other. And again, I know you got to be right and you got to do it by the book, which I don't know how much that happens by the book. But when some of these guys are been picked away, but we did bring up some names this morning, that I think could be really good candidates moving on.
I want to get into who's next, but before we do that, just from a chronological standpoint, Sam, I got the impression that the longer this week went without the announcement, because we had rumors swirling, social media speculation, big things are talking. We did a whole segment or two on this a couple of days ago when Sean was on the show. By the way, Sean will be joining us at 2:30 Central Time. So in about a half an hour, he'll join us for segment 3 to talk about all this. Sam, what in your mind, that, to my point, was going along this week, it felt like the longer we went as those other coaches were hired, Pittsburgh 2 days ago, Boston yesterday, it felt like Pete DeBoer made it through and was going to survive and be the head coach next year.
Yeah, it sounded like from what Nill talked about today that original, assessment Luds was just talking about from Tom Glardy was kind of just putting a little bit of water on the fire. It was just kind of, let's settle things down here. At this moment, we have no plan to fire Pete DeBoer. Then Jim went through, he was very meticulous, went through talking to all the players, getting all the information, looking at other options. He wanted to make sure that this was a decision that was planned ahead, right? It wasn't something that he was like, oh, we should do this and then figure it out from there. It was getting all the information in from all over, from the team, from all different sources, and then also looking at what the other options would be, because sometimes not having a better option means your best option stays. So I think that was kind of the change of it, but I'm with you. I thought the only weird thing was that Jim Nill had still not spoken to the media. That made me think that maybe something was going on. There was at least some decision still being made. And I think that kind of just slowly led Nill down this road. And I don't know if he necessarily wanted to do this right at the end of the season. I think he was thinking that this was going to be something that they push off and figure out later on. And then more he heard from players. Clearly there was a lot of concern from the players about Pete DeBoer, about the way they handled it, about how they wanted to move forward. And he took all that information in and they made a decision that he said was very difficult with a very good coach. And none of us can argue that Pete's not a very good coach. It's just clearly not the coach they believe can get them to the Stanley Cup.
Hey, Sam, that's a great point, because of the 11 years that I've covered the Dallas Stars, whether it's for the team or now for DLLS, Jim usually speaks on the same day unless there's something out there. Like, think about trade deadline. When Jim Nill comes to speak to the press, the business is done, and he waits and waits until it's all over. I guess we kind of thought that maybe he was waiting to make that final determination, but it was still on the fence either way. So you make up a great point, because many, many years he's spoken to the media on the same day as end of season availability for coaches and players, because the business is at hand and he either has something to say, we're going a new way with a coach, or, business as usual, we'll move forward. The fact that he didn't speak said a lot, but I do believe him when he said today that they had back and forth discussions, that it wasn't a written in stone that they were going to do this on Monday, let's say.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why it was such a hard decision. And it shows that it took them basically a week to do it. I mean, this all happened Game 5. That was the Thursday before. They had the Saturday exit interviews. They had meetings. He spoke to Pete a couple times. He spoke to Jake a couple times. He spoke to the players, probably more than once for a few players like Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. It was a decision that took time, and there's a reason for it. This is not a clear-cut fire your coach decision. This is a guy who, we talked about it on our emergency pod today, had the best record and points percentage of any team. He led Dallas to 665 points percentage over 3 seasons. Brought him to the Western Conference Final all 3 years, within 2 wins twice, within 3 years, 3 wins once. Really hard to do. And Nill, we'll talk more about Nill's availability, I'm sure, but he was harping on that over and over again. Like, as much as you want to say he couldn't get over the hump, they couldn't get over the hump, it is really hard to get to the Western Conference Final, especially with the way the West pans out right now. You're basically playing teams that can win the Stanley Cup in the first round, especially for Dallas. So it was a weird situation and not an easy decision. And I fully believe that it took the entirety of the time all the way up until today to make that decision.
Sam?
Bing bang.
Sam, we got to get to the bing bong. But Sam, I just want to let you know, I have distractions going on. When you're on a one-shot, there is a banner up there of Bud Light, and you happen to be sitting in front of a double-door fridge right now. I'm wondering, my mind is wandering, is there any Bud Light in that fridge?
Not in this fridge. This beer fridge is over here. I can check that if you want. See if we got some Bud Light.
We've got a big super chat. We've got to jump in. Daniel Escobar with a $100 super chat. Nobody wears the number 100, but so we're not doing the jersey, but it's 100 and year after the cup. Happy Friday, everyone. Everyone, please take care of your mental peace. Love y'all, fellas. Thank you, Daniel. And that's appropriate.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
That is the third show today that he has sent that $100 super chat to.
Wow. Daniel's feeling a lot of love for DLLS, which is awesome.
Appreciate it.
What do you think Eddie has some thoughts about this?
I'm sure Eddie has some thoughts about it.
We're going to talk about names. We can do that. I don't know if we should do this segment or this coming segment or wait till Sean comes on at 2:30. But Jim had a lot to say. And I want to play you a couple of things. So let's start with, I clipped his initial statement. He came in full press room. Brad Alberts was there. The Stars president came in for support. His assistant GM, Scott White, and Mark Janko were in the room. I also assumed that they were about to head down to Cedar Park. He said as much because Texas has a playoff game tonight, game 5, I believe. They're down 3-1 after losing in double overtime on Wednesday night. So the big game for them in the Western Conference Final, the AHL playoffs. But this is his statement, Jim Nill's, before he started taking questions, of which he answered about a half an hour's worth of questions.
Today was a tough day. I spoke with Pete this morning at 9 o'clock. Great conversation. He's very professional and he understands. And we have a very good relationship. So, but that's what makes it probably the hardest. I want to thank Pete. First of all, he's a great man. He's a great coach, and he had great success here in Dallas. And I have the utmost respect for him as a person and a coach. In the end, it's my responsibility to make a decision that's the right decision for the organization moving forward. And after a year-end review, talking to players, exit interviews, medicals, everything we go through. We got together as an organization. I got together with Pete, talked to everybody, and I just think it's just time right now to make that next step. And it's a decision we have to make. And like I said, we're very comfortable with our decision, and we look forward to moving to the next step. I'll start the process now of interviewing coaches and go from there.
He was asked several different ways about doing this, and he said it wasn't easy. He has a lot of respect for Pete DeBoer. He said Pete handled it extremely professionally. He says, we had a great relationship. Then he corrected himself and said, we still have a great relationship. He's a phenomenal coach. He goes, most coaches would kill to have Pete's resume, but he also said it was time for a change. And he also said, Luds, I didn't clip this part, but he said, I have a vision for what we need to do going forward. And that's what all general managers have to have. They have to have, if they lose a vision, then they might as well resign. So he has an idea of what needs to happen. And I can't help but sit here and think that watching what Edmonton did to Dallas in the conference final, because last year, I think they could chalk it up to, we thought we had the better team and they just didn't perform and execute. They lost to the Oilers. Goalie was better than ours, but whatever. Our power play didn't score a goal. I think at the end of this series, they looked and said, and Pete said as much in his postgame, maybe right after the game, I don't think it was exit day, who said, I can't say that we were the better team. Edmonton was the better team. They were better than us. And if you're a GM and you look and you say, we just lost to a team that has a chance to win a cup and we weren't better than them, we've got to do something different.
Yeah, and I'll say it again. I don't know if they were the best team in the first round either. I think they had a couple players that were playing very, very well and found a way to get big moments in their games that ultimately won them the series. And so even going into Winnipeg, I mean, there was a goaltender that couldn't win on the road. There's all these things. We can talk about all the good things, but when you look at the big picture, Jim is not a guy that just off the cuff pulls a trigger. He does his due diligence and everything here. So, when you brought up all the guys that were there today, Brad and Whitey and Jank and all those guys.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys have been at any other firings that Jim Nill has been involved in over the years.
I've been to a couple. The only other one that was a firing was Monty.
Okay.
Because the other ones, their contract. Different. So
I'm just wondering if there was ever an entourage like that up there with them. Because I've never heard of that before.
They weren't standing by him. They were off camera, but his support staff was all in the room.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a good question. I'd have to remember that because the Jim Montgomery firing, which happened on a game day, surprised everybody, including, I'm sure, the players. And then the other ones were Lindy Ruff's contract was up, and he knew. I think everybody knew that year it went from being great in 15-16 to having a lousy 16-17. And it was sort of lame duck coach. And by December, I think we all knew he wasn't going to get renewed. Hitch came back for his second stint with the Stars for a year. And I think we kind of knew that wasn't going to, when things cratered late in the season, that it wasn't going to work. The Rick Bowness one, we weren't sure, but his contract was up. So this was different. Let's talk more about it next in the DLS Stars podcast.
Owen kind of went over it.
Didn't he?
I got to talk about smelly balls here. Mando is a men's deodorant brand that's focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. Every aspect. That's spelled ASSPECT. Aspect. Mando overtly calls out more colorful parts of men's bodies, such as pits, belly buttons, butt cracks, and your gonads and grundles. Their sweet scents are geared towards men with options like bourbon leather, cloverwoods, and Mount Fuji. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated, clinically proven to block odors all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Imagine that. 72 hours, you ain't got to take a shower. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off the Giblet Starter Pack with our exclusive code. Use code DLLS at shopmando.com.
Thank you, Luds. Let's talk about Wendy's, a Wendy's Frosty shop. If you love Wendy's classic Frosty flavors, and I do, we have some big news. There are all new Frosty Swirl and Frosty Fusion flavors you can get in either chocolate or vanilla. So it's the same creamy treat you've always loved, but now with a flavor refresh. That means, what are these new flavors? Well, I'm glad you're asking. We've got the Frosty Swirls, strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel, or caramel, depending on your preference. Then we've got thoroughly blended and mixed Frosty Fusions, Oreo brownie. I had that one the other day. Delicious. Caramel crunch and Pop-Tart strawberry. I know John enjoyed that one. Not to mention, yes, you can still get vanilla. Try them all to find your favorite. Are you going to be a strawberry swirl girl, a caramel crazy fanatic, brownie batter buff, you name it? Whatever flavor you're craving, odds are we've got a Frosty for it. So clock in for a sweet treat anytime, including midnight or later, with Wendy's all-new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic, gotta be Wendy's. At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location. Okay, so now let's get into the details of this a little bit more. And we start with, I think, a very interesting piece of audio, Luds and Sam, about maybe something that Luds was picking up on at the end of the playoffs. And here's Jim on Pete and the grind after the Four Nations and beyond.
No, it was, Pete and I were talking, and we were talking during the season. After the Four Nations, it was a grind. It was a grind. Now, for different reasons. We had a lot of injuries, major injuries to the team. The schedule's a grind as it is anyways. And every team goes through grinds. It's the way it is. But the injuries really hurt us, and Pete felt like he was pushing every button he could in that, and I respect that he was, and so I respect that, and so that's comes into the decision making too.
Okay, think about that, Pete. This was during the stretch run to the playoffs. After the Four Nations, they're missing Miro, they're missing Sagan, they have other minor injuries they're dealing with. When I say minor, I mean not long-term to some of their biggest name players. Then, of course, the schedule is condensed because of the Four Nations break. And Pete, according to Jim, said he was pushing every button. I hear that this afternoon up in Frisco, and I think, that means he has no more buttons to press. And then Luds talks about after game 5 against Edmonton, when they were eliminated, you watched him pull Oettinger and you said, I've never seen him lose composure like that before. And then he said the things he said post-game. This seemed like a guy that was out of solutions for this team.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Four Nations, and it's a grind for all 32 teams. They're all in the same league. They're all having to go through it. So I think it's, listen, Jim Nill is the kind of guy that is not going to, he's not throwing anybody on the bus, and he's going to send him off if he has to send him off, and doing exactly and saying exactly what he's going to say. But what I saw in that game when Otter came to the bench and Pete was talking to the players, it's the first time I've ever seen him get red in the face. It's the first time I saw him yelling up and down on the bench. Every once in a while you catch a shot of Pete, raising his voice. We can't hear it, but that's just natural. But to me, this frustration of not being able to get his team to play that the way that it needed to play. And I go back to the first round. You think he was happy that there was 2 guys that carried him through that round? That's not fair. But they weren't playing the way that he expected them. They know that they got out of that because of goaltending and one guy. But I think the frustration was building up. And when I saw that, and then forgetting to tell Otter that he wasn't going back to the net, you could tell he was distracted. And there's no question about that. And then the comments in the post game, when you rattle off the games and the 6 games and whatever he talked about, Otter's goals against and all this other kind of stuff, to me that's preconceived. Like you were leading up to that moment when you're down 2-1, 3-1, kind of pretty much knowing that, we had a tough way out of this. The way the team was playing, the way the team, as far as Jim's comments about, the Darnell nurse thing, there were plenty of times that they could have gotten back. They could have sent a message in there. You don't have to be up by 4 goals.
You don't.
But no, you don't. So I get it. You're not gonna take yourself out of trying to win a hockey game. But there was plenty of moments in there in the next game or the game.
Yeah, and they were down. They were down 5 goals.
Do you think the Jamie Benn attack on Mark Stone in the conference final 2 years ago?
Yes.
Is still lingering in this whole organization?
I think it's lingering in Jamie for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it is. But again,
because that in many I don't know if they would have beaten Vegas that year, but that really cost them.
Yeah, but it did. But again, there's more games to play.
That's right.
It's not like that one moment lost you a series. There's a whole bunch of games that have to be played.
No, but it did feel like the backbreaker for them in that series.
I don't. Well, then you're a weak team. Then you're a weak team. If that's a backbreaker, you're a weak team.
You're right.
That's
what
you are. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know where this is going. But as far as Pete goes, you could see it building. You could feel. I should say that moment. I saw that it was building, and I don't think it was just that particular moment right there. It was everything that you talked about
built
leading
up to it.
That.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, these guys Jim is down there talking to him after every game, regular season playoffs. So they've had plenty of conversations, and I think Jim probably sensed some frustration in him. And Jim Nill is different than one of the other GMs that I had in Bob Gainey. Bo would, there's different ways they go about their business. So, but I think Jim is more of a support guy. You're my coach. I respect what you do. You have a good record. But he's right. It was time. And again, I go back to some of the exit interviews that were done. I'm sure that had, if the coffin wasn't completely shut, that kind of put a lid on it by some comments, obviously, that were made.
Sam, I want you to hear this from Jim, and I want your response, because this question was about Oettinger being pulled. The first answer, which I'm not going to play, Jim said, I support, you're a coach, you're trying to shake things up, get a change of momentum. But it was the post-game comments. Listen to what Jim said here, because there's a lot in this very short clip.
I think everybody did. I think even Pete is a little bit remorseful of it, a little bit. So I don't think he handled that the way he wanted to. But you gotta remember, you're under duress, the pressure of everything going on in that.
Did you have an issue with the way he handled the post-game and then the end of season? And his response, as you just heard, was, I think everybody did. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I think it goes along with what we said, right when it happened in Game 5, and then since then, is that I don't think anyone is furious that he pulled Jake Oettinger, right? That I don't think Jake Oettinger staying in wins that game either. I think they were doomed to lose that game the way they were playing, the way Edmonton was playing. The problem was all of the stuff he did afterwards. And I think Sean talked about it in that article we went over last week. Jim kind of said that without saying that, because as Lud said, Jim's not going to throw anyone under the bus, and he still respects Pete DeBoer and all these things. But that was not handled well. And I think it goes back to what we just talked about before, which is Pete lost his cool, lost his composure, lost his whatever you want to call it, and was out of options at that point, forgetting to pull Jake. As much as that sounds silly, like Lud's brought up, it really shows how flustered he was in the moment. And it all just kind of lines up to what situation Pete was in there. And you can't say that Pete didn't try to adjust. Maybe he didn't pull the right strings because he didn't have them, but he changed lines, he changed power play units, he scratched guys he never scratches. Dodonov getting scratched is another one of those last ditch effort kind of things for a guy that loves the player and puts him in every situation. Pete was trying to do everything he could in that situation, and in the end, he didn't handle it properly. Now, the question for me, and fans have been talking a little bit about this, especially since this happened this morning, is did Pete kind of see this coming? Was he just kind of, because if you're thinking I didn't handle that very well, it's interesting that he doubled and then basically tripled down on it in the exit interviews and didn't go talk to Jake and all those things we've talked about. In my mind, I wonder if Pete, once that happened, once his conversations with Nill, how frustrated he was, all the way the series ended, I'm curious if Pete DeBoer knew he was getting fired as soon as he walked out of that.
What about the timing of that? That's a great point, Sam.
I think he knew it. Sam's right. I think that's was my point. He knew it when he made those comments about Jake in the postgame.
You think he knew it after Thursday night's availability, that going into Friday, even before Saturday's end of season?
That's throwing. I mean, that's the biggest part of the whole thing for me. Not necessarily. Yes, going with not talking to Jake the next morning, or at least like we talked earlier about sending a text message. Hey, can we chat? You want to chat today, or you just want to wait a couple of days? I think you could have at least done that. But I think that when you start rattling off what he hadn't done against the team that they're playing against, to me, that's what I mean. I think it was all preconceived. And again, when he got that red, but again, don't you think you got to give him a little bit here, because he has gotten to a certain point and he just can't seem to push it over the line yet. You know, he's frustrated at himself probably.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Pierre LeBrun apparently asked Paul Maurice at the Stanley Cup Final Game 2 morning skate availability in Edmonton, because the news came out. And so LeBrun asked the question. Stephen Wino of the Associated Press tweeted this on DeBoer getting fired. This is Paul Maurice. He'll be all right. He's a good coach. I think you get elite teams. You've got to push them real hard to get to where they get to. And then at some point, you need a summer off. Pick your spot. He's going to be okay. Remember, Maurice resigned from Winnipeg a couple years ago saying they need a new voice. I've done everything I can. I can't do anything further with that.
That's a smart human being right there. You see the writing on the wall. You leave that way versus you go out by saying, listen, we got to make a change here.
It's pretty self-aware, isn't it?
Other option.
Because I think Pete is I think he's a great coach. I think he knows a ton about X's and O's. From everything I've heard, he's pretty stubborn of once he comes up with an idea. We've even heard Maurice talk about this. He says, I'll chew every option and I'll dwell and wallow on all this and stew and try to come up with, he goes, Pete comes up with solutions fast and then he stubbornly sticks to them.
That's the problem. Again, what did we say during the regular season? We got into game 60 about, can this team do this and that? And it is about adjustments. It's from game to game. If you watch the game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, wait and watch and see what kind of adjustment Paul Maurice, since you brought up his name, will make tonight about how Edmonton was able to get out of their zone and through the neutral zone. They will make a change there.
Aren't you fascinated to see what he does?
Yeah. And on the other side of things, there's something that Knobloch probably saw. I mean, how did we get down 3-1? We were very fortunate, blah, blah, blah.
Some of the mistakes,
he saw something in that game that he will address. So that's what good coaches are going to do. It's like this little chess game. Not that I know a damn thing about chess, but there's going to be this chess game that keeps on going. I did take a chess class, by the way, in college. It keeps going back and forth.
Of course you majored in chess.
And with my audiovisual class.
There you go.
Both on the same day.
All right, we're going to bring Sean in, and all four of us are going to start to talk about candidates. Who's out there? Who would be a good fit for the Dallas Stars as their next head coach as they fire Pete DeBoer today? We continue on the DLLS Stars podcast.
All right, my turn. Let's talk about Monarch Money. Finances can be messy and confusing, but Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center, which I think is a very smart word because it makes it sound very cool, for your accounts, investments, and goals. Don't just manage your money, start building wealth with 50% off for the first year for our listeners. Start managing your finances to build the life that you actually want. Get a clear financial picture, because without that, your financial dreams can feel out of reach. But Monarch Money makes super simple, even for the busiest of lives, like people who play or work in hockey. Hey, Luds. Track shared and individual accounts, set goals together, and keep money check-ins drama-free. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code DLLS at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off the first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DLLS.
Thank you, Sam. Let's talk about Empire today. Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Let's talk about what they do. Well, Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. You wander around all the aisles. You have trouble finding stuff. Then you're grabbing all these materials and hauling them home. Then you're trying to put it together. Do you even know how to install flooring? Do you know the right contractor? Well, guess what? Unlike those big box stores, Empire Today will come to your house and they will handle everything from start to finish, even giving you clear upfront pricing, all inclusive. Plus, you can schedule an installation as soon as the next day. All they do is flooring. Schedule a free in-home estimate today, because you know some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using the promo code DLLS. That's right, $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details. And look who it is. It's the fourth Beatle.
Hey.
Which it actually would be the fifth Beatle, because John is our fourth. So there's the fifth. Sean, quick reactions to this whole news, and then I thought we'd get into talking about candidates for the job of Pete DeBoer now being fired as Stars head coach.
Yeah, as I did the show with our pals Pete and DJ over at What Chaos, and I said kind of the moral of the story is you shouldn't kill religious leaders, because if you go and kill people who lots of people follow and have beliefs in, they'll never tell you to revolt. But Pete made the wrong call in backing over Jake Oettinger's corpse playoff performance multiple times, and opened Pandora's box for everyone else to air their grievances, and planted the idea of change. So Pete is gone because of how he mishandled and misread his room and the sway people have, even if they don't give the sway on things. So that's why Pete's gone. And honestly, I'm fascinated to see what the Stars do next. And this is a great segue here, isn't it, Owen? Take it away.
It really is. It's a great segue. By the way, make sure that your internet is as fast as possible, because we heard it all, but you did freeze a couple of times. So as we talk about this, I'm going to go to Luds first. Jim Nill, and we didn't have time to cut all the things, but he had a bunch of comments in today's availability about, as he starts a new search, he said he's going to be patient and extensive. It's not he said, we have a list because they hired Pete 3 years ago. So they had some other candidates they consider. They might recirculate some of those. They might look internally with the assistant coaches that they have. I thought that was an interesting comment he made, is that the Stars assistants all have one more year left, and he anticipates they'll be there. That would be Steve Spott, Elaine Nazardine, Misha Donskov. I don't know if that includes Jeff Reese, because I know they love him, and obviously that he's really important for Jake Oettinger.
Yes,
Neil Graham with the
coach.
Texas Stars. Honestly, all these guys internally have great, skills and ability. What do you think about the idea of keeping them all? Because here's the thing. Anybody you hire, if they're from the outside, they're going to want somebody that they completely trust. It's not just, I'll take the job and you name your entire coaching staff, I'll just come in. Because while you might respect all of them, you need to have at least one guy has your back no matter what, and it isn't gunning for the succession plan.
I think you can always ask those guys and say, listen, let's just use Naz, for instance.
Sure.
We believe that Alain Nazardine has done an unbelievable job with this decor. Here's our success rate in this area, this area, this area, and we would like to keep him. Are you open to that? And again, I think anything can be on the table. I think they just have to have a discussion. As far as the other guys go, I don't know. I don't know any of those guys. I don't know what their relationships are with the players. The only thing I think of, the biggest thing I guess I think of is, I don't know what you guys feel. What is the window? How long is the window open? I mean, we say the window's been open for a couple of years for this team to get to a finals and win a Stanley Cup. Is that window going to be open for another 3 years, 4 years? You know, some players are going to be gone, coming, things like that. To me, that makes a difference in the kind of coach you're going to get. I mean, are you going to go out and get a rookie? Yeah, that's my thought. Are you comfortable? Because I know you're going to bring up Carl and and some young guys. So are you comfortable with a guy?
Well, let's talk about David Carl in Denver.
Yeah.
He just turned down at least Chicago and maybe some other opportunities and doubled down with University of Denver. And you said that the comment he made about why he stayed really sticks with you. Tell me why.
I just think that's hard for him to turn back on that. Now, again, and Sean and I talked about Carl and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't. My thing about Carl, and everybody wanted him. He's the new Monty from the
correct,
right? Same
literally
program, blah blah blah. So he's the new Monty out there. So yes, he's going to be a great coach. But the reason, what I thought was the main reason, and Sean would be able to debate this or at least tell me what it is, was he felt it was unfair to the school because there were some of the recruits that had committed to going there. If he left, weren't going to go to that school, which is totally understandable since he's won a couple championships there, have probably a great relationship to the school. He doesn't want to leave the school and the players hanging. Now, if somebody like Jim Nill goes and they throw out a big contract at him, I just find that hard that a guy can make that statement and be that stand up about the kids and then bail. That's my only thing, which, hey, no, them offers were this offers this. So that, to me, just that one statement is the only thing for me that would hold me back from believing that Carl's going to come here.
Sean, you have an interview relationship with David Carl. Your thoughts on what Lud said and the possibility that Dallas is a different kind of destination and appeal compared to some of the teams that are rebuilding that have approached him before?
Yeah,
there he is.
There's a big difference between the Dallas Stars. I'm speaking. My face is frozen, so I'll just see what happens here. There's a big difference between a potential Dallas Stars job and a Chicago Blackhawks job. So let's call that what it is. There was no offer on the table before for David Carl. Leaving the Denver University for the Chicago Blackhawks doesn't really make too much sense. Leaving for the Dallas Stars, when you've said, I would like to go to the NHL someday, it needs to be the right opportunity. Is there a more right opportunity than the Dallas Stars? A team with an opportunity to win right away, a team with a nice large window with some top players. I know it's not necessarily, maybe not a Stanley Cup window for 5 to 6 years, but at least you have that young talent that goes and gives you that long-term growth. And so this is a different offer than Carl was looking at before. There's a price for everything too, where I don't know exactly what David Carl's making. I can only guess it's probably a little bit over $1 million. I don't know for sure. Denver's a private school, so they can keep that private. I would guess, though, if you were to offer David Carl a matching 5-year deal and say $3.5-4 million, triple and quadruple his salary potential, that's you find the right words to tell the kids, hey, sorry, my best Denver, he's going to take care of you. So
that's a good
every
phrase
man
right
has
there.
every person has a price. Every person has a price. So
and let me ask you one quick follow-up. Is he worth that kind of massive investment?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Sam, Neil Graham being tossed around because the Texas Stars have been very successful at winning games, being in the playoffs, and most importantly, developing players for the NHL's Dallas Stars. Thomas Harley, Jake Oettinger, more recently, of course, with Leon Bischel. Over the years, we've seen these guys make their way up from that. Does he move the needle for you?
Yes and no. I think he does. He deserves a shot on an NHL bench. I just don't know if it's head coach yet. I'll say that.
Why?
I think he deserves. there's not really a full reason. It's just that it's hard to know how someone's going to take that leap, right? We've seen a few guys that have done it well. We've seen a few guys that have come in, had a year from the AHL, come in an AHL bench, not do so well, and then be an assistant or go back to the AHL. So he is excellent at developing. He's gotten just great marks all the time from everyone that covers that team down there to everyone that's been up, and I was going to say up here, but I'm not in Dallas. But the main point for me, and the reason why I say yes as well to that, is because Dallas, everything Sean just said about Carl goes with Graham as well, to the fact that Dallas has a core of leaders already here. They don't have a team that if you come in, you're going to be the only voice, and you're going to have to find your leaders, and you're going to have to develop that core. They have their leaders, especially if they bring back Jamie Benn and or Matt Duchene. They have a bunch of guys that have been there. They have Mikko Rantanen signed for 8 years, who's won a cup and been there. They have the core there to lead the team, so he can worry about his job and finding the structure, the philosophies, the core values of the team, versus trying to develop leaders and try to balance all those things. I think that's really important, and I think that's why this job, as Sean just said, going along with all those things, the fact that they can also win, that is also really important to a coach that will come in and be a young coach, because they maybe don't have as big of a learning curve as they would coming in. Even if it's a good team that doesn't have this sort of leadership and group here, this is a group that's ready to go. They're motivated to win. They've been here, even though they haven't been to the final. They've been to the Western Conference final 3 years in a row. It's a different job, and I think it's a good one for a young voice. I said on our emergency pod today, I'm all for a younger, newer voice. I think that's the way to go. That's why.
You're just giggling at Sam.
I'm only giggling. I can't say anything about Neil Graham. You're better off asking me if Neil Young or Neil Diamond is a coach. I don't know Neil Graham, so I can give you a better reason there. But no, I just love Sam when he goes, yes and no.
Yes and no. He's right. So
yes and no.
Let me ask you about the other side of that.
Not going to be a GM of a team anytime soon.
I'm going to go to Sean in a minute about a younger, rising, or non-NHL experienced coach. I want to ask you about the experience. There's a bunch of guys out there, and this is common, and sometimes fans don't enjoy the recycling or retread of guys. But if you think you have a chance to win now, guys that are available, well, I don't know if Barry Trotz would leave being a GM to be a coach, so let's not mention him. But Peter Laviolette just got fired, but he has won a Stanley Cup with Carolina. John Tortorella has won a Stanley Cup. He's available. Alain Vigneault. I don't even know if I should bring up Mike Babcock, so we'll just move on past that. How about Gerard Gallant? Those are all some of the names that are out there of guys that have done it a lot. I mean, heck, even you could have Gabby himself, Bruce Boudreau. Like, there are a lot of guys with a lot of experience if that's the way you want. Is that the answer, or is it something else?
I guess I lean to something in between. And again, a guy that jumps off the page for me, again, is Steve Ott. And because he's been with an NHL club, he's been with NHL players, he's gone through a few different coaches there. So yes and no about Steve Ott.
He put up Steve's spot on the screen. So not Spot, but Ott.
No, not Spot.
We have a Steve
well,
Spot.
Who knows? Maybe Spotter's up for the running. I don't know.
For content alone, it has to be Steve Spot.
Can you imagine
That would be
The
amazing.
t-shirts we would print.
what would you do if Steve Spot became the Stars head coach?
I mean, I wouldn't have to do anything. Like, the best piece of content that's come out of Dallas Stars content creators is this. So from the past year.
I think the reason I lean towards guys like Gallant and Steve Ott, he has not had an opportunity to be a head coach, but I think he's knocking on that door, is because of the player that they were and the way that they seem to handle, especially Gallant, because we've seen him coach NHL guys, and he's got this ability to be tough and mean, kind of like a Craig Berube. You know, I mean, that would be you could get him, I would lean on that.
Tough, but also chill. Like, that's the weird thing about Chief.
He knows how to the players
pull back.
respect it. I think when you look at a Berube, a Gallant, Ott, again, not all these guys know who these guys are, but they can know how they were when they were players, and that they had success as coaching. You respect that kind of guy that can be tough on you because you know you deserve it. And you need to, and you can be just as tough on the best players as you are on the middle of the road or the lesser players.
In the theme of the middle of the road, not the long-time experienced NHL coach, not the ones we don't have any. Sean, he mentioned Steve Ott. What about Carl Taylor, former Texas Stars assistant coach, now head coach in Milwaukee? What about Todd Nelson, former Dallas assistant coach, who all he does is win? If the conversation is Pete DeBoer is a great coach, but he's never been able to get that championship, Nelson has won everywhere he's been as a head coach, except for the short stint in Edmonton.
NHL?
But he got a really raw deal with the Oilers. It wasn't exactly a full-on effort. Somebody there that we're forgetting.
I mean, Carl Taylor is one that I would definitely consider. I think Carl Taylor should get a call. He's been one of the best coaches in the AHL. And the same thing with, I like Todd Nelson a lot. Nelson's been winning in Hershey and everything like that, and I realize my face is freezing and I don't really care, so I'm going to keep talking. Todd Nelson, one of the things about Todd is he hasn't owned some of his, for lack of a word, mistakes in the past, just when it comes to, like, yes, it was a raw deal in Edmonton, but there's times when it comes to Nelson, I think there's been a little bit of, he's got a bit of that curt personality that someone might have to deal with. So that comes into play, and that's one of the reasons he's probably still been in the AHL for a while. Carl Taylor is similar in a way, with a little bit of, plays the game a little bit better, and that's one of the things when it comes to getting a job as a coach, you have to play the game the right way. I mean, I can't tell you how many times you talk to a minor league coach or a junior hockey coach, and they tend to buddy up with reporters because they want people to say nice things about them. So that's definitely a game that Carl Taylor probably plays a little bit better than Todd Nelson, so his name will be up there. I just wanted to really quickly just touch on, Sam was talking about Nill, and the thing about Neil Graham that's interesting to me when it comes to all of this, because he's the one who I imagine there's no way Neil doesn't get an interview, right? If you're the Stars, you at least owe it to yourself for Neil Graham to get an interview. And I think Neil Graham will probably be on this coaching staff. If I had a crystal ball, I'd guess that.
Ooh, that's interesting.
He would probably be on his coaching staff, because no way.
Let's talk about that more in just a second, Sean.
Steve Spott is. Okay.
All right. Up next,
I already got cut.
more.
Surprise
more.
Appearance, and I get cut off.
Here on
Shocker.
DLS. Look at your clock. All right, here we go. Let's talk about being a diehard. So many things to get to, so let's be quick. Let's start with Bobby's favorite thing, the DLS newsletter. Go to the alldls.com website. Scroll to the bottom of the page. You can see there's a place to type in your email and sign up. It's totally free. You will get a newsletter every single day. Sometimes even Bobby writes it, I think. Maybe that's not a good reason for you to sign up. Maybe you should do it in spite of that. But it's free. You get all sorts of great information. Plus, you'll get notice every now and then about the things that are happening on the website, whether it's articles by Sam or Sean or the other writers at DLLS, you name it, all those things. Then let's talk about the Vegas trip, because I've heard, and we've been talking about, the DLLS Cowboys show is heading to Las Vegas as they get ready to play a Monday Night Football game in November against the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. I didn't mean to scare Luds just now. You can fly from DFW or anywhere else. You can meet them there in Vegas, have some free time in the Strip. You know that's a dangerous thing. And in addition to that, hang out with the DLS Cowboys show and watch Cowboys Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. DLS diehards get 20% off events. That's an event. You definitely don't want to miss that. In addition to that, let's talk about the draft, diehard mock draft that Charlie O'Connor from our PHLY Philadelphia affiliate has put together. It's on our website right now. Go to alldls.com. You can see that mock draft. You can set it up. Look through the first round. Yeah, we know Dallas doesn't have a pick, but that's okay, because while you're doing that, you can get well-versed in some of the guys that we're going to talk about when we do our full draft coverage here at DLS. The entire first round, all 3+ hours, Luds. And then on Saturday, we're going to do a 1-hour recap show of rounds 2 through 7. So all of that's going to be fun. And by the way, can we talk about DLS shirts? If you sign up to be a diehard, look at the shirts that you can get. You can get the Otter shirt. You can get this one. How about the DLS Skyline shirt? You can get all sorts of great stuff. The playoff shirts, you name it. I've said enough. There's the shirt right there. There's the Otter one. Thank you, John. There's the Finnish Mafia. How about the Wyatt Johnston 16-bit? Oh, there's the Moose. There's the Captain. There's the Finisher. Sign up to be a diehard. All of them. Okay. You might have been wondering why there was commotion going on, or maybe you didn't even notice. Maybe I talked over it and it was like, You guys are awesome. Well, we added a third chair, but there's no one here. Well, because Sam is gone, but we're going to invite John, our producer, to come sit here. So, John, come on over here. Yeah, come on, John. Come on over here. Yeah, you should. He's got the hat trick hat. We're bringing him on. So,
can we get also a disaster because we have 2 guests and Katya does not know how to bring them on screen, and all 3 of us are not going to fit.
Can we get a blanket up here so we can cover up his legs? Just something.
Yeah, at least give me.
I would like. There they are.
I'll use the hat trick hat.
That's okay. All we need to see is John.
Look at that angle.
You might be wondering why on a show that's about the Stars firing their head coach, and we have a lot of things we can talk about. That
Sean,
the new coach of the Dallas Stars.
Suddenly brought in. Yeah, we're losing John because he's going to be the head coach.
I'm going to do my best Sean Shapiro impression and talk over here and then.
Oh man,
just keep talking.
Boy, does John have some things to share now that he's on the other side of the camera. Okay, so we have a major show announcement, and it's bittersweet. We, the DLS Stars Podcast, are losing John Andersen as our producer. Today is his last show. Don't pretend like you're so excited about it.
No kidding.
But this is bittersweet because he is getting promoted.
Don't use that word.
To the DLLS Cowboys show as the producer. So
he has dethroned me.
He is going
there.
There's Katya. She's jumped onto the controls so we could bring John over here. None of us are happy about this, except for John, I think.
Sam's pumped too.
I am super bummed. I won't speak for everybody else, but for me, John has been such an inspirational part and integral part of this show.
Inspirational?
Yes.
Have I inspired you, Luds? I'd like a specific answer.
What I would say is I'm disappointed because I'm losing a sparring partner. I mean, I have nobody to spar with now.
Well, you can yell at Sam.
Kat's going to give it to you so much harder than I ever was able to.
Here's the thing.
You don't even know how to work that mic, do you?
See what I'm doing, Luds? I'm making sure it's plugged in. I'm just doing a little quality control here.
So
making sure it's not wiggling.
We are going to have Elijah Smith join our show as the producer, who's been doing the Rangers pod. And Elijah's going to be great, and he brings some fun things. But one of the things that Luds just said, the sparring, the fact that the two of them would yell at each other and I could just giggle about it was wonderful. The personality that he brought, the drops, the creative. Say
goodbye to all of it.
The creativity from radio. I'm hoping that we, with Elijah, can harness what John brought and keep it because it's important, but it's not going to be the same.
The Cowboys crew will not know how to handle it like we do.
Oh my God! When you start
yelling,
yelling,
I've broken bread with the Cowboys crew in New Orleans.
But when you start yelling at Kavanaugh and Jesse and
I won't have to yell at them because Jeff is going to hit brakes on time. He's not going to go long.
Felt like a shot at me.
Jesse's going to. He'll tell me exactly where he wants me. First off, he won't refer to still images and video interchangeably as clips. I'll actually know what he's referring to.
Why is this turning into a Ludwig roast?
Yeah, again, it never fails every time.
I already showed Jesse all of Luds' videos, and I was like, if Craig Ludwig can handle this level of technology, then Jesse Hawley can.
I got about 6 of them from last night. I got all ready to go here for Jesse.
Did you?
Or not Jesse. Is Jesse going to do it too?
That's Elijah.
Well, Elijah, I know, is the producer. Is Jesse going to be on our show too?
No, Jesse's not going to be on your show. I'm producing Jesse's show.
Oh, I thought Jesse was going to be on our show.
This is what I'm going to miss most. That would be a
nice change.
I can't see any of those, Kat. The
Sean,
screen is small.
What you and Sam, I want to give you a chance because you're not in the room right now.
See how it is over here?
Say a thing or two about this guy.
This is what it looks like when you do it too.
I'll just talk over Luds. I will say that John made this seamless. The knowing trends on social media and then putting them out there so that I didn't have to pretend that I knew what those things were. The hilarious, ridiculous posts. He would send me things like, hey, we're going to start sending this at the beginning of the game. And I'd have no idea what it was, but then a million people would think it was hilarious. So clearly it was hashtag trending or whatever the folks are calling it these days. But John dealing with, I will say, Luds, you are a handful. Owen, you are also a handful. Sean,
I'm happy to
you are also a handful. Sam Nestler, you are also a handful.
Sam, you would have been a handful if you were here most of the time.
Sam fits in a handful.
Yeah.
Sam fits
so
And we're
So
going to
for
lose
John,
that.
Despite John making fun of me right now, I will say thank you, and we'll miss you.
Sean?
It's actually really fitting that I'm having Wi-Fi problems right now in this final show for John, so he can watch my lips not match what I'm saying. It's actually completely fitting. And on that note, going into this show, obviously I never met Sam, I met Luds and Owen before, and for us to be part of a show where we could build something that was really smooth despite terrible usage of technology by me, unwillingness to know where to talk into a microphone, even when I was there in person, as John can demonstrate right now.
He's doing it right now.
John and everything. Yeah. John made everything work extremely well. And for this show to kind of take the next step and be this entertainment product that so many people tune in and watch every single day and become part of the Stars community, that's really that's all credit to you, John, for we're just a bunch of idiots, and you made sure that we all looked okay every once in a while. So thank you.
I made sure you looked okay.
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
Screen,
Thank you first. How about that?
There you go. That's much better.
And
John,
sounded.
the floor is yours if you want to air any
You're a format.
baggage or
I feel like I've aired every grievance that I ever had on the show already.
like live.
Like, I don't think we need to recap any of that.
You want
I think
anything
we've
you
hit
want to
all
say
of
about
it.
Luds?
Someone said
Favorite
something. Someone said I won't be able to handle Pop Pop. I handled Pop Pop just fine. In New Orleans for a full week. He also owes me roughly $40 in rum and cokes. If you can believe it, if there was one person who wasn't paying for their own drinks, it was Clarence down there.
Hey, John.
Luds is the opposite. Luds never has to pay for drinks to begin
John
with.
Hector says, "Why can't you do both Stars and Cowboys?"
Because there's not enough hours in the day.
It was a lot for that. Well,
3 shows today was bad enough.
we have a couple things for you.
Oh,
This
God.
is from the boss. That I think might be a gag gift.
Technically, it's my own gag gift.
That's the Boston Celtics championship.
Yeah, this was, I think we told the story, but I got this for KG at the, what do they call it down here, Ben? White Elephant?
Yes.
We call it Yankee Swap where I'm from, but Kevin Gray was not happy about this picture
That
of
was
Jason
hilarious.
Tatum
Hey,
hoisting the trophy.
speaking of White Elephant,
Got you a great
I
baseball.
want my
Let's
Hall
get
of
you a good
Fame ball
baseball.
back now.
It's right there.
Where is it?
It's on the,
No, it's still there. It's right in the shelf in the middle on the third
somewhere
row.
in there.
Well, aside from gag
Can I add
gifts,
this to the set?
we
Okay.
actually have we got together with some help of some very helpful diehards, and I want you to show. There's 2 of them in there,
Oh,
so
boy.
I would like you to check out what we
Do we
gave
have to
you.
go to overtime?
We're gonna have to go to overtime, probably not very long, but I would like you to show everybody, if you can, what you
Fitting.
received.
Should I wear this on dates?
So it says balls, butt cracks, and grundles, and then DLS Stars Podcast on the sleeve.
Oh,
And I
God.
believe if you check the inside of it, that our manufacturer on the bottom near the hips, on the inside, there might be some special message. I haven't even seen that part yet, but I heard something was put for
Oh,
just
it
for
says
you.
we love you.
How about
Aw.
that?
Nice touch.
There we
Owen.
go.
There's another one.
Blood's face.
Right below where it says balls, butt cracks, and grundles. And we have one
Is that
more.
like the Lucky jeans when you open them and it says Lucky? You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This one, oh, God.
That's
Oh,
like a
God, it has
torture.
all the drops
And
on the back,
of this one, it's all the drops. And I'm sure we forgot some because there's a
Read
lot.
them.
John, we'd love you to read a few of those.
Oh, God. Kat, can you hit all of these as I...
Yes.
Right now, I have to stop saying... Okay. I looked at the boss. Got to finish his chicks. Bing bong, Finland. Who are you people? Pavelski, ding, a slutty milkshake. Skinner, your balls, butt cracks, and grundles. Ha 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 ha. I believe that they are going to crush these guys tonight. Squirrel, hella buck, bleep. Tomahawk City,
Yes.
get ready, boys. Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
And the only one that there's only one I couldn't figure out how to write out, which was the R2D2 when R2 Huru.
Oh, the wah! That one?
The Star Wars sounder.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know
Yeah.
how we would have pulled that one up. But we're not done.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Go
and
to
thank
overtime
people
first.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on our television platforms. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on the pod and check out alldlls.com.
Have you learned something, Sean, from me sitting in this chair today?
Oh, man, the shot's still going. I love it. This is why one of the reasons we're upset.
I've learned everything.
I actually didn't know that Ben was going to give you the framed picture. But as you talked about to troll Kevin KG, our Mavs host, because I believe that this will help you do the same.
Troll KG.
And also function for you on a daily basis.
Is
Go
it
ahead and give it a rip. It's just a little piece of Scotch tape.
It's Mando.
Is it a Bruins Jamie Benn jersey?
I promise you it's not a severed head.
Is it a gym membership?
Nice try there, Luds. Oh, a nice Celtics. I have been needing a new water bottle.
It is a Boston Celtics insulated vacuum sealed water bottle.
There a receipt in here?
There shouldn't be. And
Thank you.
because it's Boston Celtics, you can show it to KG anytime you want.
Oh, I'm going to make sure whenever KG walks in a room, the label is just out and facing towards him, so he has to see it. I might even sneak it on a Mavs set every once in a while. I think that might be funny. See if he knows. See how long it takes for him to notice.
I know that our whole group loves to chirp, and there's Marshall second. Producer, you guys have your own little thing going on the chat.
I signed a puck for Marshall. There's a Dallas Stars puck that has my signature on it. And Craig Ludwig's, too. I think we both signed it.
So
never thought I'd be sharing a puck signature with a Canadian.
We're excited for Elijah. He's a great guy, and he will do wonderful things for our show.
I have one last gift.
It's not going to be the same without you.
I have one last gift for John.
Okay.
Can you get a close-up? I want to make sure I get him the gift.
Oh, yeah. 2-shot. And John with the finger.
With my beautiful finger.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know.
Out of here.
Well, before we continue with the show, thank you to all of you guys. Thank you for all these gifts. Thank you to the Stars fans and the diehards. They really went crazy. I got too much credit for the stuff that a lot of the diehards just did themselves. They are nuts. And now that I'm not producing this show and I don't have to watch every game, maybe I'll actually go to Stars games and just be a hockey fan again, especially when the Bruins are in town. I will be rooting for the Bruins.
And wearing a Bruins
Unless
jersey.
Brad Marchand's on the Stars next year, in which case I might find myself rooting for them the same way I'm rooting for the Florida Panthers right now. So anyways, we have more show to do, I think. So
We do?
Do we?
We have more show to do?
Oh, yeah, we have super chats. See, what are we going to do?
Do I have to stay here for the super chats?
Yes.
Do you guys have more of the actual topic of the day to discuss, or was this the end of the show?
I mean, we could talk about Pete DeBoer being fired for it, but this was always the plan.
No,
we wanted to
this is
surprise
it.
you.
This is it.
It's over. It's over.
That's
move
why
on.
Sean's
Time to
here.
move on.
You sending Sam away? Sam, do you have to go?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to the beach, but I can hang out for a few minutes.
Okay, let's do the super chat.
Jersey Shore.
Bing bang.
Oh. Mark Lowry with a Oscar Beck and the year after the cup. Texas fans or Stars fans want some grit and edge, me included. So the guys who put this roster on the ice with none fires the coach, which I agree. Pro sports, Nill needs a roster shakeup too. John?
I agree.
Oh, wow.
bang.
This is why he's on this side of the mic now.
Am I supposed to be responding to these? Is that the idea?
You're on the show.
Well, these aren't these aren't for me. These are
You're
these
part of
ones
the show.
are from the
Okay,
10-minute
talk
mark.
hockey with a Haskin in 99. The DLS diehards would like to be considered for the coaching team. We have a lot of ideas.
Well, they wanted to
That would
fire
be-
Pete in December.
They want to fire
Emotional
Spotter
roller
in
coaster.
November. Sean's just trying to get the emojis to pop up. Custom built junkers with a Luds, a Ludwig and a year after the cup. Move Graham up Luds for D coach.
I would do that. Not D coach. I would do something to work with the D coach.
Like
Not just the
you
D
want to
coach.
be an off bench advisor. You don't want to be an on the bench.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
what I would
I've
do.
had my
But I
beer
wouldn't
league
give
buddies.
this gig up. Not a chance.
Luddy, my beer league buddies have been asking me, so I'm going to do it on the air. Why are you not in a front office or on a bench in the NHL right now?
That's a good question for other people than me.
It's a good question for the NHL.
I probably know all the answers. For
This
good
show is
reasons.
brought to you
I mean,
by Bud
for
Light.
us, we're glad you're here. Don't get me wrong. All right, Zero G Gaming with a Canadian Bischel and 99 Cup year. Is it possible that they go to look at a guy like Gardner McDougall? I know it would be tough after the news of what happened with his family and Moncton. Sean, do you know the story behind this?
Yeah, it was a family tragedy right before, I believe it was his father, I think, right before the Memorial Cup. So Jim went today and said that he would consider all options, and the guy who coached a team to the Memorial Cup and has been a pretty good coach in the queue for a while now and has a good resume, yeah, he'd be definitely someone who would be on the list if all options. So, yeah.
Luds, I don't know McDougall at all, but what I did hear about this week was how much his players love him. And that goes a long way for a coach, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's part of being a coach in today's game. But you have to find that healthy balance, right? You can't have that relationship going on where, you can't get on them. You have to make sure that you can be hard on a player when the time is right.
Bing bang.
Ardell with a Nils Lundqvist and a Ludwig. Sean, did Pete want out, subconsciously or otherwise? He's a bit of a drifter.
I believe that he just wanted to go to the beach every day for 365 days and get paid $4.25 million to do it.
Ooh.
That sounds
Is that
nice.
the answer we're looking for?
By the way, I would accept the role of not coaching the Dallas Stars for a year for $4.25 million.
So let me ask you, Sean.
I'll do it for half that.
There was a comment made by Pete halfway through the season, 50 games into the season or so, where he had basically said we need to get bigger along the walls. Remember that comment we all talked about?
I think it was before the trade deadline by a month or two.
Did that ever happen?
Well, they got Mikko Rantanen.
Mikko Rantanen he's bigger.
You think that's
he's
what
much
he?
bigger
That,
than
you
Logan
think that's
Stanko.
what he meant?
Let's see. They added Cody Ceci, Mikael Granlund, and
I
Mikko
don't know if
Rantanen. Do you think it's a bigger personnel thing than just a couple ads?
I do. I mean, I brought up guys like
Reclaiming my seat.
Josh Andersen.
Okay.
And,
We enjoyed having you here.
Thanks, John.
Bud, do you want to hop back into the middle then?
No, I'm good right here.
Okay.
We'll let Casper stay there.
I love Misty 1985 with a Haskin and 99 Cup year. Never knew Sean was Ryan Lambert of Puck Soup's fame on Elite Prospects. Got any fun RL stories, Sean? Hope you had fun at your son's graduation. There's a lot there. I don't even know if I know all that.
I am not Ryan Lambert. I've been in the same place as Ryan Lambert before, and there's proof that we both exist. So I'm definitely not Ryan Lambert. If there's some question about multiple personality disorder here, I will field those questions, but it's not me and Ryan Lambert. I have another maybe it's a different personality. I don't know. Maybe the question is about Ryan, and we can. My face is jumping around way too much and frozen for me to answer any question like that seriously right now.
Nah, you're doing fine. All right, let's go to the next one.
Ask it again later.
I love Misty 1985 with a DeSmith and 99 Cup
okay.
year. I think I left out the word editor on my last super chat.
Bing bang.
Talk hockey with me with a Haskin and 99 Cup year. Can we please get a DLLS Stars Vegas trip so we can boo Mark Stone in his own house?
Yep.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh,
There's a cowboy trip that John just happens to be going on, isn't it?
I know. And so we found out the news on Wednesday after our show. So we had, or was it Tuesday? I can't remember what day it was, a couple days ago. So we were doing this read, and I don't know how much it took you to not say anything when we're talking about the Vegas trip, but I had to really refrain from saying, and John gets to go.
I do get to go.
He got to go to the Super Bowl
Vegas,
in New
San
Orleans.
Francisco Super Bowl next year.
Hey, I
Wheels
got to
up,
go to
baby.
Denver for like 4 nights, so.
Sam got to go to Denver to watch the game in Edmonton for 4 nights.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Last
Bing
one.
bang.
Marshall second with a DeSmith and a 99 Cup year. Producer, good luck in your future endeavors.
Well, I'm not leaving the company. So
No,
thank
but
you,
you're
though.
leaving the show.
Thank you, though, Marshall. I will be across the room, and I will still see everyone on this show every day except for Sean, because I never see Sean anyway.
John, I hope you go back through the chat. I don't know if that you have the time to do it, but a lot of people said some really nice things while you were over here and you couldn't read any of it. So, and are you dropping the pen?
Oh, yeah, the big ass pen.
Other than Lud's flipping you off, I feel like the only way to sign off here is for John to do a potpourri of his drops to
I don't know if I
end
can hit him
today's
fast
show.
enough. By the way, Sean, that's a day one DLLS Stars reference. Sean's giant ass pen.
Yep,
Remember
that was
he
a
dropped
long time
that
ago.
thing off camera and it made a huge noise?
That was a
Sounded
big
like
pen.
an earthquake.
If we had had more time, I would have put together a montage of John stuff, including him yelling at Luds. And one of my favorites was New Year's Eve when Kim brought in all the noisemakers and we had the hats and those. And instead of playing Bing Bong, we used the horns for each super chat. And John was a huge part of that. It was great. So John,
I am not going to miss though when I send text messages and call him
and he doesn't answer
when he
you?
returns it a
He
day and a
ignores
half
you.
later.
Well, text me at 4 a.m. the day before a pregame with stuff for pregame. So that's living my life, man.
John is very good at setting boundaries between work and
You're on
and
time, you're
non-work.
late.
All right, want me to hit all these?
I do. Get it. Rapid fire fireworks finale.
I don't even have all of them on here anymore. But.
Hellebuck, buck, buck, buck.
Yep.
Hellebuck, buck, buck, buck.
Oh, that one didn't work.
Sick reference, though, bro. Oh, thanks, bud. Dude, your references are out of control. Everyone knows that.
I
That
believe
one.
that they are going to crush these guys tonight.
Tomahawk City.
He's going to finish his chicks. Your balls, butt cracks, and grundles.
Boy, that escalated
Well, that
quickly.
sucks.
I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
I am dangerous.
Oh, that one.
Ab.
We're not going home.
We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Oh.
No. Here. Who are you people?
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
The sky is falling.
The sky is falling.
Oh, that was a
How
big
did I
one.
forget that one?
He needs some milk.
Oh, he
Bing
needs some
bong.
milk.
And that's it.
And I need a Miller Lite.
Do we own all
Even though we're
those,
Bud
or
Light.
do those go with John?
They're in the
Yeah,
they're in the
exactly.
system. Actually, Elijah's going to come in and fight to the death to make sure we still have them.
All right, there you go.
So, hey,
Clarence specifically requested the Luds, I'm going to crush these guys drop for Cowboys.
oh, they're going to do that. Well, hey, John, we'll miss you. Thank you so much. We will be back on Monday for our show. It's a 2:00 Central Time. Just a quick programming note. Next week, we have a couple of different start times. We'll be Monday through Wednesday at 2:00 Central and Thursday and Friday at 1:00. And that may be a little bit more of the norm throughout the summer. So just be aware. We'll talk about it. It's either going to be probably at 1 or 2. 2:00 Monday. Big thank you to our presenting sponsors, Bud Light and Happiest Hour. For Sam, for Sean, or whatever skipping Sean was, for Luds and the middle fingers, and of course for producer John. I'm Owen.
We love
Thanks for
you.
joining us. Have a great weekend. So long, everyone.
Sayonara.
We all silly like the mayor.